Greetings, fellow gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
And I'm Count Jackula.
And today we're going to talk about Fréwaka from writer-director Aislinn Clarke, an Irish folk fairy tale horror film about a nursing student who is assigned to take care of an old lady who believes that in her basement there are fairies that are trying to take her, and they've been trying to take her for years. And there's this big question: are the fairies real, or is she just senile, old, and possibly schizophrenic? Stay tuned to find out.
The movie opens up with a shot of a goat, so you know it's folk horror.
Yes, this is a full-on folk horror movie. It's about generational trauma. At least that's how I read a lot of the movie, because the movie follows a nursing student named Shu, who recently had to deal with the fact that her abusive mother committed suicide, and her mother largely dealt with psychological problems too, right?
Yeah.
So she's constantly dealing with the complicated feelings she has towards the death of her mother, the complicated feelings she has towards her own genetics, because there's this question of like, is she going to be as susceptible to those mental problems as she gets older as her mom was?
Yeah.
And now she's dealing with an old lady, almost like a grandma figure, who is also dealing with potential mental problems. And
as well as physical problems.
And is kind of reminding her to a certain extent of her mom. So there's a lot of complicated things going on there. So you have like this generational trauma aspect, but you also have like this, like, grief is not the right word, because she's not grieving her mother. She's mad at her mother. Not necessarily because her mother died, but because her mother lived it all, to be honest. Which I guess you could call a form of grief.
Yeah. It's a form of grief, but like it's a grief born of an abusive childhood.
Yes.
You know, because whether or not it's her mother's fault, her childhood was horrific.
Yes. Absolutely. And so dealing with this old woman, Peg, I believe is the old woman's name, brings up all these complicated feelings that she's trying to kind of stuff down and like keep like hidden, but it keeps coming up because like if you dealt with a crazy schizophrenic mom who abused you your whole life, then dealing with a crazy schizophrenic old lady is going to bring up those feelings again, right?
Yeah, and I actually in large part blame the fiance. She has this fiance who is this
the Ukrainian
girl.
Fiance?
Yeah, Ukrainian girl who they're gonna have they're having a child with. She's having a child with. And she's like, no, you have to deal with your mother's passing. You have to deal with like throwing away all her things and shit. And I'm like, bitch, she already just said dump everything.
Yeah, she wants you to throw it all away. She doesn't want to deal with it further than that.
Any of that shit. She'll deal with it on her own. You don't have to fucking keeping shit from her mother's hoard.
So, if you didn't catch that, this is also a lesbian horror movie, so there is that.
Yeah,
too.
because it's all about women.
Yes.
It's all about women. There's a thing said in the movie about, like, women are, you know, there at all the moments of life and death.
They're on the threshold.
Yeah. Birth, weddings, death.
Yep.
You know, funerals.
And the main character is at the threshold of all of those things going into this movie because she just lost her mother who committed suicide. She's getting married to her fiance, and her fiance is having a kid.
Yeah.
So she's in the center of all three of those thresholds. And threshold imagery is throughout this entire movie, not the least of which being the door to the basement where the woman thinks the Fae are. It's this big red door, almost like a giant red flag, with all these locks and charms on it to try to keep the Fae at bay.
Well, it looks like the Texas Chainsaw Door.
Yeah.
You know, except it's got a horseshoe in the middle of it, you know?
And it very much screams, do not open this door, don't go into this basement.
One of the things I liked about the movie is that it's so steeped in fairy lore.
Yeah.
Like, the old woman is constantly wearing her clothes inside out.
Yep.
She's constantly saying, always carry silver and iron.
Yeah.
You know, she's putting horseshoes and nails all over the place.
That's the thing. There's a lot of things she does early on in the movie that comes across as crazy.
Oh, super crazy.
Makes more sense when you realize that she's trying to fight off fairy folk, or at least she thinks she is, right?
Yeah.
When she first arrives at the house, the old lady pisses on the door. It's just like, come in now, won't you? And when you realize that fairies don't like piss, and that putting the piss on the threshold of the door will prevent a fairy from crossing that threshold, it makes more sense. But when you don't know that initially, she's just an old lady who's pissing everywhere, right? Same thing when she throws like the iron shavings on the ground. You're like, what the fuck is this? You know, but knowing that the fairies don't like the iron, It makes sense. Makes perfect sense. Same thing with the horseshoes everywhere.
Yeah. She also like oversalts all the food.
Yep.
Because she's convinced that Shu might be one of them.
Yes, so if she salts the food and she doesn't like the salt, then she might be a fairy. The problem with that is oversalted food no one's gonna like, regardless of being a fairy.
Yeah.
Especially if it's something that's not supposed to be salted to begin with, which she does it with like oatmeal at one point.
Yeah,
and I think it was supposed
not
to be
even the Irish fucking salt oatmeal. That's not a thing.
At least not to the extent that was salted. Holy crap.
Yeah, she puts the whole like fucking thing in there.
And to make matters worse, the people in town treat the house and anyone in the house with like disdain. She's walking through the town and she's getting side-eyed the whole time. It's very much that folk horror, you don't belong here kind of thing. You don't belong here, and also, why are you going to the cursed house, you know?
Yeah, there's also the realization that some of the people in town might be fair folk.
That's also a big question throughout the movie, especially when you start dealing with that little kid who keeps popping up.
Yeah, the little red-haired kid.
Creepy mask and a fucking goat everywhere.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, he could be a Cluricon, you know?
Like, there's a big question of like, is there some sort of goat god involved in this? A pan, if you will? Possibly. Maybe.
If you're into fairy folklore, you will recognize a lot of the references that they use. Oh, that's another thing about this movie. A lot of it is actually in Irish.
Yes.
Not English with an Irish accent. Irish.
It's very well written.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And they obviously did their fairy research.
Yeah.
100%. Hey, Massimo.
So we got a puppy here.
We got a puppy here. Part-time puppy.
Here's the thing about any of the fairy creatures that you see in this movie. They never name them.
No.
You're just supposed to understand that's what they are.
They don't even really use the word fae or fairy.
No, they don't use the word fae or fairy. They use terms like them, stuff like that.
But everything they outline, from the ways to prevent them from getting in, to the stories of what these creatures did to her in the past, is very much fairy folklore.
Oh, it absolutely is.
100%. So anyway, this movie's really good. It's currently available on Shudder. I highly recommend you check it out if you like fairy tales, if you like folk horror, if you like movies just dealing with the concept of generational trauma and complicated grief, then you're probably going to dig this movie because it hits all those notes perfectly well. Let us move on to the spoilers. I guess the question is now, are the fairies real or is she crazy? Well, spoilers, the fairies are real. They are very real. And in the past, in the fucking 70s, she was initially kidnapped by these fairies when she was getting married to her husband.
Yeah, the old lady.
The old lady. Her husband had to negotiate to get her back, and in that negotiation, he essentially negotiated for some baby somewhere down the line to end up being taken by these fairy folk.
Yup.
So what ended up happening is her and her husband had a kid. They let that kid go, gave it up for adoption so that the kid would be safe from the fairies. And the fairies ever since have been not happy about that.
You tried to cheat us.
You cheated us. We are going to come for you and we're going to torment you for the rest of your life until this debt is paid.
Yep.
And now, are you ready for the twist of twists? It turns out the main character, Shu's mother, the one that committed suicide, the abusive schizophrenic, was actually that baby.
Yeah.
Peg is her grandmother. So when we say this movie's about like the generational trauma, it really is about that generational trauma.
Yeah. This also brings it back to the title of the movie, which is Frewaka, which basically means roots that are hard to pull up.
Yep. So yeah, throughout the movie, you have all these hints of this fact. She keeps looking at her paperwork, the ones that they sent her to assign her to this place, and it keeps changing on her. Like the information on it is just different every time she looks at it.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's different is because the fairy folk made it up. She was never actually hired to work at this place. The fairy folk summoned her when her mom died, and this has all been one giant fairy trap.
Yep.
Shu is the baby they were promised. Well, technically, her mom is the baby they were promised, but they never got her, so Shu's the next best thing.
Yeah.
And because Shu is on all three thresholds, death, marriage, and birth.
Yeah.
She's in the perfect place for them to take her. And so they do. And we get this glorious ending where she ventures off into the Fey lands in the basement, which takes her to like this field. Her fiance is taken at this point, or at least she thinks her fiance is taken. And this is when they establish they 100% are worshiping a goat god.
Yes.
A
Yeah.
pan.
There is a pan figure.
That great shot of the pan. It's a pan up to the pan on the hill.
Yeah.
And the movie ends with her having been taken by the Fae and her fiance crying at the threshold, the door, "Give me my wife back." Very much indicating that the cycle's about to continue.
Yeah, like the chances that she is going to give up the baby she's going to give birth to the Fae is extremely high.
And the continuation of the curse, the generational trauma by way of curse.
Don't make a deal. Definitely don't go back on the deal if you make it. Mm-hmm. You know, because that just makes everything worse. Because they'll get pissed.
But you understand why people make these deals, because it's like you want your fiance back.
Oh, yeah.
They took her, and what was he going to do? At the time, they didn't even have a kid.
Yeah, but the fairy contract always comes down to live with it.
Yeah.
You know, live with it.
One of the things I really love about this movie is I actually really love the relationship between Shu and Peg.
Yes.
How it starts off very antagonistic, very like at each other's throats. And then by the end of the movie, you genuinely care for both of them. And they care about each other. Peg is the mother she never got to have.
I'm also very enchanted by the idea that the red-haired kid could be like a leprechaun or something.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But not, I will grant you 3 wishes.
He's definitely some sort of trickster, right?
Yeah.
He might even be like the manifestation of Pan himself.
Yeah, like
because he's always seen with the goat.
Or Lou, or something like that.
He's definitely not to be trusted, whatever's going on with that little boy.
Yeah, don't trust that guy. Oh my god.
So yeah, Fréwaka is a really good movie. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Everything about it comes together. I love the folklore. I love the characters. I love the writing. I love the dark as fuck conclusion and the fucking pan up to the pan god. This movie gets like 2 thumbs up.
Is this the first, it's Aislinn Clarke, right?
Aislinn Clarke.
Aislinn Clarke, yeah, sorry about that. Is this the first Aislinn Clarke movie we've seen?
It might be, I'm not sure. I didn't look up their filmography.
I'm pretty sure she's done some other movies, but I haven't seen them. Like, this is the first one I know I've seen.
Yeah.
Really super good.
It's really good. I'm looking forward to whatever they make next, because this was a phenomenal film. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, where can they find you, Count Jackula?
Oh, you can find me here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every weekday evening where I stream. How about you?
Y'all know me, I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me on various social media platforms, but these days, I primarily use Blue Sky, so follow me on there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you'd like to help out either of us more directly, be sure to check out our Patreon pages, and remember, if you decide to go the Patreon route, even $1 a month can go a long way, but we will certainly accept more. And if you made it this far into the video, then I want you to comment below, and be sure to comment below using the hashtag DeathWedBirth. Use the hashtag DeathWedBirth. That way I know, that way Jack knows, that way the whole world knows that you stand upon the threshold, and you best be careful, because when the Fae coming, you ain't gonna be a stopping. That's all I'm saying.
They're gonna get you.
They're gonna get you.
Get you. Get your horseshoes out and fucking start lying nails in front doors.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the only way.
Yeah.
And be sure to keep piss bottles,
Oh.
That way you can chuck it at them.